All right, so a few people are still trickling in, but we can go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another ReliaTrax training webinar. We like to do these periodically so that just to provide extra information that you might not have known otherwise. So today, what we want to talk about is how to manage domestic violence clients in ReliaTrax. Hopefully, you learned something new from this. You should, because we have a couple new features that were just released this week. So you should definitely learn something new. But if not, maybe it's something you find informative, and we'll just go from there. All right. So throughout the webinar, I will take questions, but I will save time at the end to answer any questions. If you haven't joined us for a webinar yet, on this window here, on the Mycogo window that should be on your screen, there's this little person with a speech bubble. You can use that to send your questions throughout the webinar, and I will try to answer them as I go along. Otherwise, like I said, I will save time at the end for any questions. All right, so we can go ahead and get started here. Let me pull up ReliaTrax. All right, so today's topic is domestic violence and how do we manage those domestic violence clients? How do you meet all the requirements that you have to comply with? So the very first thing that I want to talk about is the DVRNA. So the DVRNA, we have developed a working relationship with the DVOMB to provide you the DVRNA directly in your ReliaTrax system. As a part of that is we provide the DVOMB with data so that they can use that data for research purposes and also for validation purposes to get the DVRNA validated. It's important to note here, though, that we do not send any client identifying information or agency identifying information. All the data we send to the DVOMB is anonymous, and it's just used for validating the DVRNA. All right. So to get started here, if you haven't spoken to the ReliaTrax team about getting the DVRNA enabled on your site, reach out to one of us and we'll get you turned on. It does have to be turned on for you. So just let us know if you haven't done that yet. So if you have talked to us about turning that on, to do the DVRNA, we're going to go directly to the client's profile. So I'm going to bring up my client here, Mr. Johnny B. Good. A little bit of setup that has to happen on the client's page, and I use the word setup pretty loosely because it's a pretty fast and easy setup. The client has to have a Colorado address. So if I go into the magnifying glass, and then on this page, I want to edit client info details. Under the state, it just has to have Colorado as the state. You don't even need the rest of the address. You don't need the street or the city. You just need Colorado as the state. All right. So if you have that, go ahead and you can save. I'm going to cancel. But if Colorado is listed as the address, that means we can do the DVRNA on this client. To do that, in the icon bar, the fourth icon from the left, will bring me to, if I hover over that, it says Client Bros. BRO stands for Behavioral Reporting Organization. If I am not seeing a line item right here, that just means I haven't added it to the client yet. I've already gone through and added this one for this client. But if nothing's here, then in the drop-down, you'll select DVOMB, click the green plus, and it'll add the line item for you. I've already added it for this client though, so right here, under the little blue book that says DD, it stands for Data Dictionary. I'm going to click that to edit the DVRNA. And here we go. So the very first section, the client demographics, that does have to be done first. So I click on that little pencil and it brings up this window. And this is where I can enter some information, like their intake date, the assessment date, who their probation officer is. Now, contrary to what you've kind of been conditioned to believe your whole life, this asterisk next to that field, it doesn't mean that that's a required field. What it means is that that information is not going to be reported to the DVOMB. Like I previously mentioned, all information, all client identifying information is confidential and anonymous. It is not reported to the DVOMB. So I fill out my fields and submit. And that's going to open up all the rest of the fields. So you can see we have all the sections for the DVRNA. So I'm going to start with the first one and just work my way down. So it's clicking simple yes or no, just select the answer for each question. I can add any additional comments. And then the bottom half of the screen, I can define my source. So where did I get that information from? You can see you have a lot of options to choose from, including the other. So if I want to define another source that I got this information from, I can do so. If I do select it, I do have to type something in here. Otherwise, I can just select from the other lists. And I just work my way down, and now I won't sit here and make you go through each one of them with me. You do that enough on your own. You just select them. When you do all the fields, after you've filled out every field, this bottom one for scoring, it will turn that on after you've filled out all the rest of them. What's important here is ReliaTrax will score the DVRNA for you, and it will score it accurately. So you can see here, ReliaTrax scored it. It's saying we recommend level C. I can then override it. So if I disagree for whatever reason, I can override that. I say, no, he's going to be level B. If you override it, we're going to need some comments as to why. Or you can just stick with the recommended level and submit. And then I'm done. The results of the DVRNA will automatically be sent to the DVOMB. Again, it's all anonymous. But then if you'd like to download the finished product for yourself, for your own records, you can do so right here with the little PDF icon. Somebody asked earlier if that is saved in the filing cabinet. It is not. If you download the copy of the DVRNA, you can then upload it into the client's filing cabinet. All right. Another new feature is we did build a DV evaluation template that corresponds with the recent DVOMB training on what you need in those evals. Take a look at that really quick. Just like with anything else, you can fill it out in Quick Notes. So anytime you see the check boxes, you can just check them or uncheck them. And anytime you see the blue is something that you can type in. I'll fill out today's date, put in his level. I can use my phrase list to fill this out. But this template, it does correspond with the recent DBOMB training that was given. We can take a look at what the whole template is going to look like. If you would like to use this template, just let us know. We'll put it on your site for you. We did just develop it, so it's fairly new. Not a lot of people have it yet, but if you would like to use it, feel free to just shoot us an email or give us a call, and we'll get it put on your site for you. All right, and that kind of leads me into my next topic, which is sending MTT forms to the MTT team. So how do I send this eval to the probation officer or the victim advocate? So if I'm working in Quick Notes, I'm filling out my eval, and I finish it up, I'm all done. If I go to the Release and Approve section, you'll notice instead it doesn't say Release and Approve, it says Release Document. If I click the Release Document, it's going to ask, okay, who do you want to send it to? Select probation officer. I'm going to select the victim advocate. This is a simple system setting that if you're not seeing this, we just need to make that change. It'll take a minute. It's not very hard at all. It depends on the agency on how you want to send these documents. I'm going to approve an email. Now, the PO and the victim advocate will get an email with that document. I am going to swing back to sending MTT forms, but I do want to just change directions here really quick. I'm going to jump over here to my group notes. So we did develop the DV competencies bar graph in ReliaTrax. So the bar graph feature, it was originally started for domestic violence. Since then, a whole lot of different treatment populations are using a version of it, like substance abuse or sex offense, parenting and COG. We have a version of this bar graph for pretty much any population you work with. So right here under the competencies tab, you should notice all the DVOMB competencies. So for those of you who are not using the bar graph at this point, just a really quick overview how the bar graph works. Let's say today's group, we talked about power and control behaviors. And this guy, he's fairly new to treatment. So based on my scale down here at the bottom, he's not getting it. He's still new. He's still not ready to admit some of those behaviors. So I'm going to give him a 1. If I didn't talk about anything else in today's group, if the only topic we covered was power and control behaviors, that's all I have to do for this section. I don't have to do anything else. You can see here some past ratings that he's had. So the past couple weeks, we've talked about empathy, we've talked about offense and abusive history. So you can see how he did with each of those topics. We also have a similar function for tracking homework projects. And the rest of the note here, it's just the standard comment boxes that are in quick notes. Most of you should be familiar with this, so I won't go into too much detail on those. And then just like with anything else, I'm going to release and approve my note. All right, so my note it's released, it's approved, it's in the client's filing cabinet. So what I like about the bar graph is that it does populate to other forms. So it will fill out things like my monthly reports, maybe treatment plans, discharge summaries. Those values that I'm entering on my bar graph in my session notes can then populate other notes. To show you what I mean here, we'll jump to a monthly report. There we go. So here's my client, Johnny Be Good. Here's his monthly report, and you can see every topic that we discussed in group for this month has automatically pulled over to the monthly report. So this is great. You can send this to probation. They can see what you discussed in group this week, and maybe they can ask the clients about it to see if they're really paying attention. Now this guy, he's fairly new to treatment. If I jump to one of my other clients here who's been in treatment for quite a while, you'll notice you can see the previous column here is all the topics you've discussed previously, and then the current topics discussed this month. So you can see here for offense and abusive history, previously he was at a 4, and now he went down to a 3. So what's going on with that guy? What do we need to change? And I'm going to jump over to the treatment plan. So just like with the monthly report, those competencies can pull over to the treatment plan. So at this point, I don't have to do anything unless I need to change something. So if I'm doing my treatment plan and I previously rated him a 1, well, you know, he's been doing better. So I'm going to change his to a 2. All right. So that kind of leads me back to my topic about sending MTT forms. We took a look at sending the document for the eval. So now this is a treatment plan. Just like with that eval, I'm going to go up here to my green check to release and approve. I'm going to select that I want to release that document. This time, however, it's not asking who I want to send it to. It's asking who do I want to request their signature. So probation, parole, victim advocates, they can all jump on and electronically sign these documents. So when I check their names, it's going to send them an email saying, hey, Camden City Therapy has a document for this client that they want you to sign. They could then log in, take a look at it, add their own comments, maybe address any concerns they have or come to an agreement. and then they can sign off on it electronically. Or they also have the option to refuse the document. I don't want to give you too much pause. Yes, they can refuse documents, but it doesn't create a whole lot of extra work for you. You don't have to start over from scratch. So if you get an email saying PO so-and-so refused this document, you don't have to start over from scratch. You can come back in here and you can copy that archived document, make the changes, and then send it off again. It's not hard to keep updating these forms, especially if there's something that probation wants you to change or the MTT team wants you to change. All right. Now, at this point, you might be asking yourself, well, what if I did not create the document in ReliaTrax? What if I uploaded it? I previously filled out a treatment plan in Microsoft Word or PDF, and I want to upload that to the file, but I also want to request probation sign off on it. How do I do that? So if you uploaded it correctly, you should have gone to the client's profile page. And in the filing cabinet, it's this gray box icon up here. You can upload any documents. Okay. So I'm going to pick one that was already uploaded there. So let's say this one here. I filled out this treatment plan and I want to send it off to the probation officers so I can get their approval on it. So I'm going to click this icon right here next to it that has the two little people icon. If I click that, it brings up this window. And in the lower right corner, I want to say add additional signatures. So from this page, I can select external signers. So that's going to be probation, victim advocates, human services. But I also have the option now to send that to internal signers. So if I have a supervisor that I want them to take a look at this document, or just another counselor who's working with the client, I want them to sign off on it as well, I can request their signatures also. And again, they're just going to get an email saying, hey, you have a document to sign. I will really quick show you how to sign those documents. This is going to work the same whether it's probation or a victim advocate or an internal staff like a supervisor or another counselor. Right here, I'm going to click the documents pending approval. And at the top of my list here, that's the only one that's pending my approval. I'm going to click on this green check mark. That lets me review the document. I could add my own comments. I can then approve the document, or I can refuse the document, either one. All right, so then you can see here on that screen, it does give you a little overview of who's approved it or who hasn't approved it, as well as their comments. And then also on the document, my comments have become part of the form. But you could also see that I refuse to sign it. All right, so another new function, this was released just this week, it's brand new, you're some of the first people to see it. It's called floating groups. Floating groups was designed for the domestic violence level B second contact clients. So those guys, they only have to come once a month, one additional time a month. So how do we track that? How do we make sure that if they're not coming in that month, how do we give them a no-show automatically? Because I don't want to have to check every single client every single month. So how do I make sure they're getting a no-show if they're not coming? How do I make sure that they're attending the right group? So floating groups kind of addresses some of those problems. So up at the top here, I'm going to go to treats and groups and down to treatments. There's some setup that we have to do before we can do the floating groups function. All right. So on this page, I've got my level B second contact treatment right here. Some of you might have the level B second contact treatment already. Some of you might not. If you don't, we just need to create one. It's not that hard. But I already have one created here, so I'm going to click the pencil next to it. And then down here in my yes/no options, there's a couple of things that I'm going to change. So group length must match. That means if clients who are enrolled in treatment A want to attend group A, then the group length and the treatment length need to match. So both of them need to be 2-hour-long settings. But in this case, I'm going to say no. My client who is a level B second contact, he can attend a 1-hour group, he can attend another 90-minute domestic violence group, or he can attend a 2-hour relapse prevention group as his second contact. I don't really care if it matches, so I'm going to set that to no for group length. The next one, the group frequency must match, meaning this client, he's only supposed to come once a month, but this group over here, it's supposed to meet every week. I don't really care. They don't need to match. I'm going to change this to no, and it's going to allow me to put my level B guy in the relapse prevention group that meets every week. And the final option of setup that needs to happen right here is can float between groups, meaning this client can attend any one of the designated groups, regardless of frequency or duration. He could attend any one of those to meet his level B requirements. So I'm going to set that to yes. All right, and then my treatment is set up. The next little step of setup is I'm going to go to my groups. So any group that I'm allowing clients to attend to fulfill their level B requirements, I need to add that treatment to the group. So right here, I'm going to say from level 1 education on Mondays, yes, guys can attend that to fulfill their level B requirement. I'm going to click my icon here. It's the second from the left. And then in the drop-down menu, I'm going to find the level B second contact, and I'm going to add it. Now, any client who's enrolled in the level B second contact treatment is eligible to attend the Monday 5 p.m. level 2 education group. The difference is the guy in the level B second contact treatment, he's only supposed to be there once a week. Everybody else in the group is supposed to be there every week. So weekly on Monday night, if the rest of those guys have not been checked in, they're going to be given a no-show. However, my client who is the level B second contact, we're not going to generate that no-show until the end of the month. If by the end of the month he has not attended a group and for his level B second contact, that's when we'll give him the no-show. So floating groups, They work perfect to manage your level B second contact guys. Another brand new function that was just released this week is on the calendar. So this isn't really domestic violence specific, but it is applicable to everybody, to domestic violence, substance abuse. We've updated the calendar with a few additional features, and that is the ability on the appointment window here now. I now have the ability to either reschedule an appointment or to cancel an appointment. Previously, that was not the case. You just had to delete the appointment and recreate it, or just move it. There was no log. You couldn't tell when the original appointment was or who rescheduled the appointment. So we've updated that. You can now do so. So my client here, Larry, he was supposed to come in for an intake today, but he called. He couldn't get off work. So he needs to reschedule for Saturday morning. So right here, I'm going to click reschedule appointment. I'm going to change my dates, maybe change my time. So I'm rescheduling him from today until tomorrow. It moves my appointment over. And right on the appointment window, you can see who rescheduled him, what his original appointment was, and when it was moved to. You can also see down here at the bottom that the original appointment was created by me, and it was last modified also by me. One other thing I want to show you with the cancel appointment or reschedule appointment is on the session log. If you cancel an appointment or if you reschedule an appointment, it does create this line item. And it does tell you what's going on. So don't be alarmed if you see that line item on your session logs. It just means somebody rescheduled that appointment or they canceled that appointment. All right, so that's kind of the bulk of everything I wanted to show you today. A couple announcements. We have been doing a lot of training with probation departments. So, like for example, yesterday we were training the 17th Judicial. If there's a probation department that you know that wants a training, that want to learn more about how to access ReliaTrax and get some of this information, feel free to have them contact us. We'd be happy to go over and give them a training. And finally, the last announcement is we do have a newsletter coming out on Monday morning. It's going to have all the information we just went over. So keep an eye on your emails. That should be coming through early Monday morning. All right, so that's the bulk of everything I had to cover today. I will hang out right now and answer any questions. So on your MyCogo window, there's this little guy with the speech bubble. If you click that, it brings up the chat. Feel free to send those questions through now and I will answer them. All right, so one question that just came through is, what is the phrase list that's under Quick Notes? Jump back there really quick. So the phrase list, that's this middle section right here. These are phrases that you use all the time that you would like to save so that you can easily access them. So for example, every counselor I've ever known has their own specific way of saying things like, the client participated actively. So, you have your own sayings that you use all the time. So you can save those as a phrase list. then when you're writing your notes, you can just click over your phrase. And then to add to your phrases, you can go up here to admin. The last option is phrases for notes. So let's say I want to add some notes to my DAP note phrase. Just come here and I can add them. So if you're not seeing the phrase list on your screen when you go into Quick Notes because you don't have them, they're not phrases that I give you and say, here, use these now. They're phrases that you can save yourself. And again, you can do that by going to admin, phrases for notes. We do trainings on how to add to those. So if that's a training you'd be interested in, feel free to contact the ReliaTrax team.